Hi friends, my name is Megan and welcome to episode 64 of a Naughty Mess Knitting podcast. I feel like I should be hosting like Cozy Reading Corner and have like a real armchair. That's what I feel like in this new finished object. Let's talk about it. Okay, wait. Let me go back. I got excited. Hi everyone, my name is Megan. If you are new here, welcome. If you're, returning, welcome back. I am a knitter, sometimes crocheter and spinner of yarn, and general fiber enthusiast, as you may have gathered from behind me. I live in the Pacific Northwest, just north of Seattle, with my husband Mike, our daughter Theo, our dog Winter, and my mom Cindy. And I'm here to just talk about all of the joys of knitting, projects I am working on, and any other little tidbits I can think of, because sometimes they're just, randomly tangent things, plus books. So cozy corner. Yeah, I don't know, like I should have like a pipe. Obviously I don't smoke. Well, I don't know if that's obvious, but like I don't smoke. This feels like pipe adjacent, like old timey. Let's talk about it though. Today I'm drinking out of my beautiful yarn chicken mug that I got last year at Flock. I hope they just bring these back forever because it's the most hilarious thing ever. And Theo loves to just yell chicken whenever I have this mug out. Let us discuss this finished object. I have a finished yarn. I have no new acquisitions. Thank goodness. We were a little bit crazy there for the last month, and I've got some project updates. So this is the Deep Winter Coat by Abby and Selena at Wool and Pine Designs. I mentioned this last week or the week before. I am seeing them for Sacred Sheep, which is in 2 weeks. Gosh, next weekend. Oh, that's coming up so fast. Okay, so I needed it done by then and I'm done already. So that's exciting. It's basically a bulky weight knit, right? So it just went so fast. Also, do you like the lipstick match today? This is a perfect color. This is one of my Lime Life buyout cones, and it's like the everlasting lipstick, so it'll stay on all day, even though this is not what I will be wearing for work, so that's okay. Also, which is why my pants don't really match, but yeah, I'm prepared for my work day because this is before work, so it's fine. This is construction wise a top down. You knit the back panel. It's not a drop shoulder though. It is kind of more, I suppose it could be if you oversize it a little bit, but this is intended to be a little bit more of a set and sleeve look, and there are short rows to create this lovely sleeve, and then you knit the sleeves. The sleeves went pretty fast. What did I have done last time? Did I already have sleeves? I might have already had sleeves, and I just needed to finish the rest of the body and do the collar, and that actually went a lot faster than expected also, because I think I only picked up like, I did by ratio that they suggested, not by stitch count, because that's hard to do, because like 15-ish inches or whatever I decided for extra, I didn't, there wasn't like a stop at this number in the chart anyway. So I picked up like less than 200 stitches around, and so like, yeah, that's not a little bit of stitches, but for a collar that you're knitting around, like it was not that many stitches. Okay, now I shall stand up and let's look at it for real. Okay, so I don't know, it gives me like really cozy, like smoking jacket vibes. I think that's why I said that in the beginning, because that's like, that's the style, right? So but also like it's a coat. It's very, very warm. I will probably wear this for the whole episode, but I'm gonna definitely unbelt it when I sit back down because it's hot. I am just wearing like a cotton shirt underneath, but it is, look how gorgeous it is. It's so pretty. The details are so pretty. You have like regular decreases, though I told you I would do this at some point. I borrowed, just because I had a lot of stockinette on either side, I borrowed from Claire's ever after pattern, having extra stitches in between my decreases and doing decreases sort of like the opposite way that they're often written. So I think I did left leaning on the left side and right leaning on the right side rather than leaning in towards each other. Anyway, so it created this nice little like decrease panel, which you can kind of see on the other side too. Anyway, so I did that. That was like my one modification. The sleeves blocked a little bit long. I could have just ended them a couple of rows early, but you know, I actually like, if it's going to be a coat, I want to be able to like pull this over my hands a little bit and be super toasty. Then I had like a lot of the body done last week, but not all of it. So now you can see the bottom part. The hem is about the same length as the cuffs. So those are like the same number of rows. And then you pick up and you knit normally, and then you do some short rows, you know, like long ways. So they start getting shorter. So you have a bunch of, double stitches or whatever they're called, to finish off here, which is I think what all of these are. And I did them a little tight because like you don't want them to be loose, and I feel like they're just pinching in a little bit here. They're fine. I probably could like play with this a little bit more and just get them to like lay flatter. See, that already looks better. So I blocked it. Oh, let me show you the back. Isn't that so pretty? And the belt is not attached or anything. It's just ribbed. It's just a ribbed belt that has selvage edges. So it like is nice. And then you just like use it or whatever. You know, I would potentially just wear it also without the belt like this, but this is a 46-inch bust. It's a little bit wider than that with the shawl collar. You know, I think it's probably like, if I really covered it, it's like closer to 50 inches. But when it's open, you know, my bust is 47 inches and it does give me about that inch there. If I use the belt, I can tuck it and I can really be totally covered. But if I just like went around like this, I would be pleased. Like I wouldn't be upset about having it be open also. So let's sit back down and then I'll talk about it a little bit more. So generally, yes, I really enjoyed making this. I will say it's very warm. So like it is, I mean, it's called a coat. It is definitely an outside wear outer layer. I mean, I would maybe wear it in my office on like the coldest day in Seattle, but otherwise I probably will only take it out when I'm like, you know, wear it outside. But on our fall days when it's not raining and it's crisp, like this is going to be so nice. So when it's not raining, you guys may be laughing at me, anybody who like lives here, or if you think that it rains all the time in Seattle, which, you know, you're not wrong for a lot of the year. Okay, but the details on this. So this is a size 5, it's 46-inch bust. Recommended ease is 0 to 4 positive inches. So I'm -1, but that's okay. 6.5 millimeter needles for everything. I didn't change for cuffs. Yeah, I didn't change for cuffs or anything, and not for the hem. I did wet block it. Oh, sorry. It's Lion Brand yarn, Touch of Alpaca, which is just a commercial yarn. I think I got this on Lion Brand's website, and like I got the bundle. So they're 200 gram balls. Just that was a lot nicer for less ends to weave in, but this is the color Crimson, and it's 90% acrylic, 10% alpaca. It's 207 yards for 100 grams. So this, like when they give suggestions, it's like Abby and Selena put it for a worsted weight yarn held double. So it's really more like a super bulky than a bulky, but they gave a bunch of suggestions, and one of them was wool ease. And when I was, which is a little thinner than this, but when I had this yarn to make like a make and do crew crochet cardigan, and I decided after I'd made 2 crochet cardigans, I didn't really want another one. I wanted a knit one, so I just left the yarn for like 5 years. And now I used it, hooray. But I was nervous that I wouldn't have enough yarn, which is one of the reasons I didn't size up, but also the neck size I think is like 50 inches, and I didn't want so much space because I wanted it to be like a fitted jacket. I was afraid if it was not more fitted, it would look very weirdly bathrobe-y on me, and that was not the vibe. So this is perfect. I love it. I will say this yarn is itchy. It is definitely not a next to skin nice yarn. I would not use this for a sweater I was planning to wear touching like without a shirt on. In fact, just around the back of my neck, like it's a little bit prickly. It'll be fine. I don't imagine I'm gonna have a lot of issues. I could always wear a scarf too if I needed while I'm wearing this and tuck that under, but I did wash with hair conditioner and it minorly softened it up, but it feels very like the Eco Alpaca from Cascade, which is a worsted weight yarn, and it just like, it's like they have the long hairs, not like the nice fluff of the alpaca. Just so you know. And I mean, that's part of what you're going to get when you're paying very little money for the yarn, right? Like they're not sourcing the best of the best for that, but it's, you know, it's nice to have a little bit of natural fibers in it. It was very plasticky while knitting, but like honestly it was fine. Like I got used to it while I was going, and I'm glad I have it. It was a thing I had been thinking about making for a couple of years, or at least since last October. Sylvan and I said we were going to cast on last year and never did. I showed it to her at knit night though, and I was like, are you convinced? Do you want to cast it on now? So maybe Sylvan and I will be matching in the near future. Okay, let's talk about my spin. Okay, I mean, we'll call this like 90% done. I did not wash this yet. I pulled it off yesterday and put it on the Nitty Nutty, and then I just didn't have ties. It's the little things that really trip you up, huh? But anyway, this is my spin. Let me see if I have... this is my spin from Into the World. It is an alpaca silk merino blend. If I remember, I'll put like the details below, but I talked about it last week. Anyway, it's called like Veggie Patch, I think, and it reminds me of heirloom carrots or like just, you know, farmer's market-y vibe. So it's very green and purple and orange. A little bit of gold in there. It turned out pretty good. I did a traditional 2-ply. I did a fractal spin. So I did like 6 or 7. I split one half of the braid, and then the other one I split into just 2. So that just means like fractal spin just means that your colors are changing at a different rate. So this is what it looks like. I tried intentionally. I didn't really try for a weight of yarn because like the way that this is my first time spinning alpaca. And it's definitely very different feeling than like merino. Super, super different. Like more of like hair. I don't know, like how else to describe it. Less of like floof and more of like silky hair. And so it drafted okay. It just, I didn't really pre-draft it because it was sort of like, I don't know, I didn't really want to. So I just was like spinning it. It was fine. It was fine. But I wanted to do a slightly less tightly twisted yarn in preparation for in the very near future, like sometime this year probably still, I will do these Cormo braids here, which is what I want to use in conjunction with my Sonder Yarn Co. Sunday Morning DK to make a Pressed Flowers pullover next year. So I want to have the yarn ready. And this is a very, it's hard to tell on here. Let me see if you can see. It's a very like, it's pretty loosely plied. And so I want my, you know, accompanying yarn to sort of match. It's not going to match exactly, obviously, but to be close-ish. So actually this is pretty decent, like both in weight and twist value. So like that just gives me a good idea of like what I did for this. I'll make some notes. So the Cormo is going to behave differently, but for at least for like plying purposes, it'll give me an idea of like what I did for plying. And then I had a little baby because I knew I did not split these evenly. Actually, I did weigh them, and I wanted to see on this little baby. I wound it onto the ball winder, and then I did pull from inside outside, and I wanted it to be even looser plied to see like what that felt like. And so it is. You can tell. I'm going to wash them and see at the end which feels the most compatible with this one, and kind of, you know, make that note. So that is yarn. So they're not washed, they're not thwacked, any of that stuff, but they will be this weekend. Okay, as always, let's talk about my Heirloom quilt cardigan. I have 2 new squares. This is all I'm sharing. A quick little here we are. We've got a tan and coral, which is very fun. This is antique rose or old rose or something, is the pink color, and then luster blue luster, one of those is the blue. I'm enjoying some of these. Like when I'm knitting them, they don't look as contrasty, but they like, it's definitely a different value, right, than this, but they still feel so nice. I don't know. All together, they're looking amazing. I have these in a little bin, so they're stacked by color, so that so that they're all together and not getting like re-squished, because once I block these babies, I'm trying to keep them as nice as possible. I need to go through that bin. It's a chore thing. So I either need to do it at knit night or while I'm watching one of my knit podcasts. That's when I like to do some of my yarn chores. So I need to go through though and sew in all these ends. And I should just sew the whole bin because I still have not done that. Okay. That's all. As a reminder, I'm making size 2. And that's it. That's all I have to say about it. All the things, 4.5 millimeter needles, ZZ Textiles, DK, tweed. Okay. Now, let's go to, and you know what, maybe I'm over halfway with the number of squares I have this week. So depending on how many I get done next week and if they're blocked earlier than the episode, I guess not even if they're blocked, like just if they're not wet right before I film, I will lay all of them out and take a picture. And maybe I'll flash that up next week so we can kind of see what they're all looking like. I probably will do them like in group of color, like when I lay them out, so that it's not going to look like the layout, right? Because I don't have them all done. And so I'm not going to even mess with that. But yes, that would be kind of fun to see that there is quite a lot of them done. I think I have 20 now, maybe more than that. So I'm trying to get there, and I want to get there before the end of the year, so I might have to speed up some of these a little bit, but I have some good projects. I made really good progress on a couple of my other projects this week, so like maybe I can just decide to dedicate an entire evening to making like 3 of them at once. That would be crazy. I did make both of these over the weekend during baby naps, Saturday and Sunday, and that was great. So, okay. Let's talk about the Belmullet Pullover by Andrea Gaughan. This is a test. It's due December 1st. I still have well over a month, but I think I would like to finish this next week, if not like the week after that. But this is a top-down, all-over cable and texture worsted / Aran weight garment that is a drop shoulder. I'm knitting size 5, which is 53.25 inches. Recommended ease is 6 to 8. That's 6 and a little for me. I am using 5 millimeter needles, though 4.5 is what is recommended. And this is Malabrigo worsted in the colorway water green. It's 210 yards for 100 grams. It is like a single ply, very silky feeling single ply yarn. That's 100% merino, so it is non-superwash. Okay, and I can tell because there were like a couple of strands of yarn that I had like hanging on the inside that I hadn't woven in, and I still have some, like I didn't weave in all the neckline line things, but they're getting felted just from being around, and getting like touched and moved around and stuff. So yeah, this is definitely like, you can just see it's like puffing up. So definitely a non-superwash yarn. We'll see how the texture survives getting rubbed and stuff over time. Probably not great, but you know what I mean. This was yarn I had for a long time, and so I needed to use it in a project. Okay, I am done both sleeves. I was nearly done this sleeve last week, I think, and so I went and I did the whole sleeve. Yeah, you can see my little markers here. I wanted to have the sleeve at least to my elbow on the second side before I decided if I wanted to go back and change the length, right? Remember, I added like 4 extra rows I probably didn't need to add on this side. And then when I tried it on, this really is hitting knuckle length for me. Yes, it may block a little bit longer, but I'm hoping that this yarn behaves, and it's not a it's not a superwash yarn. So I'm hoping it doesn't really give a lot of elasticity. I haven't done a garment with a single ply, so this is a worsted single ply at that too. So we're gonna see. It'll be an adventure. And then I went back to the body and I finished out like one of the sleeve balls, and then I'm on the second sleeve ball just to use that up. And I have one more ball of yarn upstairs, and I think that'll get me. What I did notice when I tried it on though is, and you know, most sweaters do this because I have a chest, I am having a little like high-low while it's tried on. That usually ends up leveling out once it's a little bit closer to my hips, and then when it's blocked and has the hem on and the needles aren't on it, etc., it usually ends up not being as apparent. If it was up to me, and I might send a note in, I would, in theory, like to go from side to side and make like a little, just at the very bottom, because I'm in pattern, joined at the same place in pattern for the front and back right now. So I do not want to add any, like, I didn't want to add like a bust shelf, right? But no, the way that the 3 Seasons kind of accomplishes, like, they actually do it in the back because of the way the shoulder joint is. Like, this is different. It's a different kind of construction, but they added like 4 rows in the back that give like just the smallest U so that it's even. And so I would do that on the front, doing like maybe 6 rows of just the smallest U so that it doesn't look shorter in the front. So I might send that note in. I think I want to get to the finished body measurements pre-hem and then try it back on with an entire barber cord, no needles in it, so there's no stiffness or whatever, which I've got to I don't know if I've ever told you this. I am super lazy, and I will usually do a shorter barber cord across like just the front and pull the needles out so they're hanging in the back, barber cord across the front or whatever. And do that, which is not great. You should not do it with your needles on, but like, lazy. It takes a long time to thread and rethread all these stitches. Anyway, so I think that's what I'll do. And maybe I'll take a picture and maybe I'll send it in to Andrea and be like, hey, would you mind if I did this? Or do you think that will be disruptive? Or if I just take notes, well, is that fine? So here we are. And maybe it's a little bit because of the honeycomb, right? Because this is a little bit like of a stiffer texture. Maybe I just noticed it because of how I tried it on. Like, it's right in the middle that it pulls it up a little bit, and that will relax a little bit with blocking, I think. So here we are. I'm super excited to have this, and so I'm really hoping next week-ish I will be done. That is my goal. And I say ish because I'm not gonna like, if I'm towards the hem but I'm not done, I'm not gonna like kill myself. It'll be the thing that I probably focus on earlier in the week, like, or maybe this weekend. So like I spend most of Saturday night or whatever doing that. I know I have really thrilling Saturday nights. Whatever, I have a baby. She's not a baby, she's fully a big girl now. She's huge. Her birthday is next week, so I'm really excited, and yeah, we're gonna do something fun to celebrate her, so that's exciting. Baby. Let's look at what I did this week for my Lauder Vest. I know y'all haven't seen this in a while. It spent like 2 or 3 weeks getting 1 or 2 rows added to it, like very, very little. And then this week I just decided I wanted this to be done. Ariel and I had talked about working on or having it for pictures for our Knit Weekend Away, which is really soon. That's 2 weeks from now, or 2.5 weeks or whatever. So I wanted this to be done for that, which means I have to block it and I have to get it ready and everything. So I think part of it too is like, I just wanted to have some small wins on this. So I did the neckline and the armholes. And then I tried it on at Knit Night actually, and it ended up great. Here's where I was last time I showed it to you. Like, I had done like 1 full repeat in the body and that was it. So I added 5.5 repeats in the body, and then I have about 4.5 or 5 to go. I think that this is only supposed to be like a 10 or 11 inch body, and then a small hem, like just an inch or an inch and a half. I do want this as a layering piece. So I don't think I'd wear it as a shirt, so it's okay with me if it's a little bit shorter, but I don't know if I'm cool enough to wear my shirt untucked underneath of it, so I may want it to hit like at least by like high-waisted pants. So if I tuck, you know, that it's sitting in a non-awkward place. Anyway, all that to say, I might give it an extra inch or so. I will sort of try it on and see, but it's fitting really nicely, and I do think it's going to block with a little extra ease. So I am making a size 4. It is 47.25 inches. Recommended ease is 0.75 to 6 inches. I am using a 4mm needle for the body. It was a 3.25, like it's smaller, but I am using a true DK weight yarn, not a worsted, which is really, like, it's listed as DK on Ravelry, but if you look at the yarn that was used in some of the samples, like some of the testers used DK, but I think a lot of them used worsted. Anyway, this is Skeins Incognito in the colorway Brittany, which is 246 yards for 100 grams. And it just says 100% wool. I'm really liking it. Putting it on was so cute. Like, it's just, I don't know, it gives me like real like school vibes, but if I was cooler when I was in school. So yeah, I'm super into it. And it definitely is, right now, is like a little bit negative ease. Like, it's supposed to have almost no ease on me, so I don't want it to stretch a ton. It fits nicely. Yeah, I'm super excited. I don't know if I'll finish this next week, but it's got to be done by the Thursday after so I can wear it for pictures at Knit Weekend. So, which I don't know if I told you guys, we're doing a Knit Weekend. It's our annual fall retreat. Actually, I will say it was really sweet. I think probably in everybody's minds, we wanted to do something in the fall anyway. But shortly after Flock, Katie made a request for her birthday, and her birthday she's a late November birthday. So she happens to fall right around Thanksgiving a lot. So, you know, people are often gone or busy right on her birthday or that weekend. So she requested a knit weekend to celebrate her birthday at some point, right? And so we did pick a November date, and we're so excited. And I mean, it's just like for us anyway, all collectively, but I think it's fun to also celebrate Katie. And so I think we'll do that, and that'll be really great. But we'll obviously be doing a photo shoot. We did get another beachfront property, so hopefully we're going to be up on a little island north of Seattle so that we can take some cute pictures. And we decided to truly be inside the house people this time, and we're gonna just hole up and knit and not get distracted by lots of other things, hopefully. I'm so excited to get some uninterrupted fun knitting. It's like just a knit night extended for a whole weekend. How amazing. So this will be one of the things I definitely photograph, and anything else that's kind of recent or that we've knit as friends, like together, we'll bring. But everybody's like, we always welcome any FOs, and like, yeah, it's just like so fun to find places to take pictures and have the Sylvan hype squad. She is a squad all by herself to hype us up to take really beautiful pictures where we're like smiling and look natural and not awkward. So that's really fun. So anyway, that's my Lauder Vest. Okay, so I am going to show you my Tessellated Vest this week also. I didn't add a ton this week, but well, I added a bit at the end of last week, and I just want to remind you what it looks like. And so this is going to be super fast. I'm not going to go through sizing or anything like that right now, but I just want it to, so when I eventually get to the finishing, you're not like, whoa, what happened? Where did that come from? So here is where I am. I have a good amount of, now this is the body, so this is bottom up. I have a decent amount of the body done. I need like 3 to 4 more inches, which is going to take me a while. So I'm not saying it's gonna be done soon or whatever, but I will, once I get a couple more things off my needles, I will try to focus on this a little bit more. And I know once I split for front and back, it's gonna go super fast. So here it is. Just as a reminder, we love it. That truffula is like doing wonderful things as the color changing element. I'm super into it. I'm super happy that I changed my color. You gotta be flexible sometimes. Okay. And that's patterned by Andrea Mowry, in case you don't remember me talking about that before. Okay. I did some real work here also on my mother's field day cardigan. You know, every time I pull these things out of bags, I'm also like pulling my hair off and the dog's hair off. The dog's hair is sort of a hopeless thing, but my hair is always also on all these things. Okay, I actually just tried this on her this morning over breakfast because it's looking so good. This color is gorgeous. Not a Megan color, but if you like orange, this color is a banger. So here's where I was last week. I had just connected the body, and maybe I didn't even do the buttonhole because remember I said I could not. So I actually picked this up, I think over the weekend, maybe like Sunday, and I did a buttonhole, which was very easy. There was no reason for me not to have read those instructions, but you know, late night knitting. And then I did all of the rows I needed in between. I think because my row gauge is still off, I did like 2 less rows than, you know, what she wrote for instructions, but she wrote the inches in there too. And then I did the second buttonhole, and I did like 1 or 2 rounds. So I am just past the second buttonhole. You need to have 3 and then a little bit of length and then the hem. And I don't think I'm going to add 4 for my mom, but I might add a little bit of extra length. Although I tried it on her today, and I'm thinking like if I get to the 3, I might try it on her like 3 plus the little bit of length before the hem. I might try it on her again and just decide how I feel about it. Because I think you do like 10 rows after, and maybe it's like I'm doing like 18 rows between buttonholes. So it's like, yeah, you're just flirting with like, do you put a last buttonhole, or is it gonna be like an awkwardly long amount of thing if I add some rows without a buttonhole? I don't know. So we'll see. She's not very tall, so this might be just fine once I get like the weight of the sleeve, the other sleeve on here too. So I did last night pick up a sleeve and then just went to town. This is mostly what I worked on last night, and I actually had a really amazing time just working and stockinette. It was super great. I think the way that the yarn is working between the body and the sleeve is pretty cohesive, so I'm pleased about that. I am helically knitting the sleeve, though I did like 6 rows of just one of the balls to get started. And that was looking fine too. I could have just done that, but I have some skeins that seem to be looking like slightly like tanner. A couple of them are like slightly lighter. None of them are white in the background color, but this background color is a little bit lighter on a couple of the skeins I have. So I will skein up one more this weekend because I'll run out of the second. I have 1 small ball attached, and then I have mostly a full one. Once the small one runs out, I'll still helically knit to the end. I'll helically knit everything but the cuff. The cuff I won't because I don't care. Yeah, but I'm probably gonna do nearly all of the decreases. When I tried this on my mom, again, she's not very tall, and this is a pretty big drop on her because I'm you know, it's a little bit oversized. I think what I'll do this weekend is do at least double this in length. So I'll measure, and then I'll do double this, and that's not going to be quite all of the decreases. Then I'll pick up the other sleeve and I'll do at least half of the decreases, so maybe get to this side, and then I'll try it on her again, and I'll decide if I want to start the cuff early, in which case I would just rapid decrease on the underside of the cuff, so like over the first and last few stitches if I want to get down to what the actual cuff size is. So sort of make a game time decision there, and that's a little bit because my row gauge is off, and also a little bit because this is slightly more drop on her than I had intended, but she liked where it was sitting on her, so like no complaints. It's going to be totally fine. So here we are. Yeah, so good work on it. It doesn't like, looking at it doesn't feel like it looks that different, but it's actually looking like a sweater now, so maybe it does look really different. These going through these body rows has actually been like not so terrible. I need to be reading or listening to something, I mean, like listening or watching something relatively entertaining, but I don't really have to look for this. So we've been watching, like, I think I said last week, we've been watching Abbott Elementary, and this is actually a pretty good thing because I can watch most of the show and just, you know, I don't have to look at my knitting. Okay, I have 4 Culmination Blanket squares to talk about. This is a pattern by Lindsay Fowler, who is Larkspur Knits, from her Salt and Timber book. every time I cannot remember the name of it. Okay. This is a bulky weight patchwork blanket. So I'm making squares. The pattern says 30, right? Like that's the large size that is created like in the sample. You can make this with however many you want. I'm going to aim for 30 to be done by the last week of November. Katie and Ariel and I were thinking about doing like a layout party all together, and then, you know, like helping each other lay them out, which actually would be so nice because that's the part where I like just take too much time and you end up not caring once it's done anyway. But just to lay all our squares out together, take pictures, and then maybe start seaming them, or maybe just do that piece and like hang out for an afternoon. So I have 4 done, 2 washed, this one actually, it's still, I'll count this as new because I wasn't counting this as like what I had finished up until last week, but this was my very first square that was not bulky enough. So I went in and I actually just added 1 strand of fingering to it, which gives it an even nicer marley look because there's a little bit more, it's like a yellowy yarn that I used, a yellowy orange yarn. I was sort of saving, just had a bunch of all my scraps from my year of socks last year from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. Not in this, right? They're not up here. They're not in my, I have bins at the very top that have like scraps, and they weren't in here. They were in another place. And I was going through, I opened that bin this week and I was like, you know what? There's a lot of like brown, yellow, orange in here, and I need some more fingering weights to hold with some of these yarns for squares. So I just grabbed them and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to use these for a project altogether because these aren't really even my colors anyway. I'm letting go of some of these ideas. Anyway, so this is one of them. Okay. This is 2 colors from Backloop Yarn Co. Dark Amber Meadow and Amber Meadow. And then one of the FDF colors. And then this one is maybe also a Farmer's Daughter color, that single Adelaide Primrose, and then an unknown, oh, actually it's a worsted weight, one of a kind orange from Erin at Backloop Yarn Co. And oh, the one that I used for Theo's hat, which is Bronto DK. Actually, that looks like so nice. It reads less pink, but there's like these little pink splotches in here, but it's reading very orange because it's the other yarn I was holding with was, you know, just tonal orange. Okay, so those are the 2 that are washed. And before I stick them in the bin of all the finished ones, I will sew in ends. So I'm getting there. I have 2 unwashed. So this one is, oh, this is the last one I just finished. So this one has a brownish red mohair from Sylvan, a Malabrigo worsted that I think this one is like maybe the Noviembre color. I'm not sure. That dark Amber Meadow, and then actually that same yellowy color that I used in the other square, that FDF color. And I think this one is like so nice and so autumnal. A little bit of green from the Malabrigo, a little bit of red, just overall reading like kind of yummy brown and cozy. Okay. And then this one is actually so interesting what happened with this one. So this is 2 Malabrigo colors, 2 different ones. Maybe like, I don't know what the 2 are. Not Noviembre, maybe. Oh yeah, no, maybe Noviembre, maybe like Loro Berenquero. I don't know how to say that. A maroonish kind of burgundy mohair from Sylvan, and then a single, which is actually Grenouille single that I had that was like I used in some socks last year. So that is so pretty, but like, isn't this so interesting? I'm using 2 color changing or 2 like variegated yarns, and I'm still getting these sort of like, it's like, I don't know, diagonal opposite of the actual diagonal, actually like patches of like, this is just so much more burgundy and this is very yellow. I think that's like so interesting that it's doing that, but it looks fine. I mean, it's going to look great in conjunction with all the other ones. So yeah, doing all of these marriage of colors has actually been like a really fun way to play with just like how colors play together, what two different yarns will do together when they're dyed in a different style, when they look different, you know? So I've been having fun with that. So I'm going to wash those this weekend. I think I have only one other to wash. Maybe I'll wash them today before I have any heirloom squares to be done so that I can get all of them on the drying mats together. We shall see. But yes, I am very excited. Those, I'm using 8mm needles, various scraps. I am doing like intended to the pattern combination sort of, except for I have designated worsted weight as one lower than she does, because I think most of the ones I have, like, it just wasn't creating the fabric I wanted. I wanted it to be a little bit denser. Okay, I'm just gonna flash up my Metropolitan Pullover by Tori Yu, who is Tori Knits NYC, really quick, because I did finish, you can kind of see, I don't know, I don't think I have a pin on here, but like a progress keeper, but you can see a little bit more now. Here is like the line of eyelets on the shoulder, and I finished all of those increases, and then I have which is like just sleeve increases, and then you do the body straight while you're doing those. And now I have raglan markers. You can see more of them on here, and I am doing raglan increases, and I'm not quite midway through them, but I would like to split for sleeves this week. So I do want to keep progressing on this one because I want a little bit of a dopamine satisfying finish, non-cable non-cable knit. Okay, so that's what I have. Let's do a recap really fast. I have 9 projects on my needles. I have 2 that are like these long-term, the squares, the culmination squares, and the heirloom quilt cardigan. Though I do want both of those to at least be complete in squares by early December. So I do have a goal for that. So it's not like forever long-term. I have 1 test knit, and I have 2 vests, a gift knit, which I would like to do something for baby for Christmas. So I want that off my needles so I can put something on for baby. I have 2 projects, my traveler hoodie and my birch, that I've not touched since I cast them on, basically. So there are a couple other things I'd like to cast on this year and get done, but I need to do some real work here. So my goals that I will write up tonight will be based around clearing my needles a little bit. So hopefully in the next week or so, I will get things off my needles. I am planning to do an early November cast on. We have one actually that we may do at our knit weekend, but I would like to cast on one more of my Make 12 that I think will be a relatively quick knit. One can hope. Anyway, so I'm going to probably do that. And I'm just telling you to tell you. Okay, let's talk about books. I've got quite a lot of updates on this front. So one of the books I talked about last week that I was in the middle of reading was, and this was the first one I finished it on Thursday, was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Okay, yes, I have some thoughts about Ali Hazelwood. I think some of her characters are a little bit problematic. I do also think that some of her representations of women in STEM I don't enjoy. And mostly just the fact that she also, in conjunction with making quirky women in STEM, and I definitely think there are a lot of like neurodivergent people who find her women in STEM characters to be relatable. Great. But what I don't like is that in conjunction with these quirky women who have generally some sort of major flaw that is hurting them from being in relationships or what have you, is that they have these perfect foil men, and that are all 6 foot and gorgeous and have PhDs. And I just feel like, come on. Okay, that's all. So Bride is a total left, like out of left field for me, for her. Like, I hadn't read anything from her that's not that. So this is a paranormal romance, and it's about a vampire bride and a werewolf. And I think this is a little bit polarizing. There are people that really love it and people who really hate it. I found it to be very enjoyable. I thought there were some really fun parts about it. In this world, vampires, humans, and werewolves all know about each other and have territories, etc. And they are genetic mutations, not diseases. There's a lot of secretism between, across the species. I did not see the twist coming for the bad guy. I thought that was actually pretty well done. I thought the ending was satisfying. She set it up for a second book, though she could also just leave it as it is. So I don't know if there's going to be a second one. It doesn't currently say it's like part of a series, but I enjoyed it. The next book I read was Drop Dead by Lily Chu. If you've heard me talk about Lily Chu before, I have read all of her books. They are all Audible originals first, and that's like just, I guess, how she's contracted her work. I don't even know if they're like available on Kindle. I don't love that because I don't like that things are not accessible to people, though I think as an author, you probably have to take what opportunities come to you. But she does always write about Asian Canadian main characters. So in this case, the female main character is actually like a quarter, maybe Chinese, I'm not sure. And then the main character he's like half Chinese. I like that she has this as a piece of her identity. There's always commentary on it, right? So she does make some social commentary on that. And as a half Asian person, I think that is like so relatable. And even when it's not the main focus of a book, like it was for the third one, which was about discrimination, that one really got under my skin. This one's really different. So this one is about two journalists who are rivals, like from school rivals and rivals in the workplace also from they work for different publications. And one of them accidentally releases an obituary for someone who's not dead. And then they have to go apologize to that person, or she goes and apologizes, and the other person's trying to get a scoop on how did the person feel about this. And then it turns into something totally different. And it was interesting. I felt like both these characters didn't have as much chemistry as I kind of wanted them to. Like, I think she was trying to do enemies to lovers well for this, and it didn't read as well as some of her other ones, which I thought had way better of the build into the friendship piece. And this one, and part of this is because there was a lot of like, I want to like beat you even when I decided I liked you. And that's actually what happened in one of the other books I read this week. And I don't like that. Like, that personally, to me, it doesn't feel very like genuine, but also is like not my personality type. So I just don't really understand it. Okay. I will actually talk about those first, and then I'll talk about Wheel of Time. So I read 3 Sarah Adams books this week. I just was on a kick. Because I finished Wheel of Time. That is totally why. Book 13. I was like, I need a break. And I want to read 100% fluff for the next 3 days. And so I did. So I read first, the second of It Happened in Charleston books, which I read The Match a couple months ago, which is about the woman who does does the seizure dogs that she trains. Anyway, The Enemy is about one of that guy's younger sisters, and she owns a trendy donut shop and has this. Actually, I read like 3 of these are definitely like enemies to lovers. Anyway, so this one is an enemies to lovers, though I liked how she did this one better. And these 2 were like teenage rivals, but then they kind of find out that they never were actually rivals. Like, they both liked each other, but were like too chicken to admit it. The main male character and female character both have best friends, and that's how they knew each other, growing up. And those 2 people are finally getting married many years after starting to date. And so they're like brought together to be in the wedding. So that one was pretty good. The second one I read was It Happened in Nashville, book 1, and then I read book 2 too. So the first one, the Off Limits role, is about Lucy, who is a hairdresser and is a single mom. And she starts falling for her brother's best friend, who is newishly his best friend, but he like roomed with him for a year while Lucy was out of state. She has a lot of complicated feelings about bringing a new person to meet her son, obviously. And also he doesn't want to mess up the friendship with the brother who says, stay away from my sister. They're all in their 30s, everybody, but still some bro code things are happening here. And it's interesting what they decide to do. I very much, I enjoyed their romance. Okay, the second one in that series is called The Temporary Roomie, which is about the brother, Lucy's brother, who is also the best friend of the main guy in the first one. Anyway, him getting a temporary roomie, which is Lucy's new best friend. You know, it's always like interesting when you read like characters that were touching each other and then the other characters come in and like, yeah. This is also sort of a, what I didn't like about this is like they are also into pranking each other, but I feel like the female main character, and like not unintentionally, is a little immature in the way she handles her reactions to some of it and her inner dialogue for some of this pranking. And even after they, you know, decide to be together, like pranks are still a thing. And I just like, I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe just reading them, like pranks are not that funny when you read about them. So like it's just like, I could leave it. The last thing I finished reading, or really it was the middle of the week that I finished reading it though, was Towers of Midnight, which is book 13 of the Wheel of Time. I needed to give myself a couple of days before I jumped into 14. I am took like an hour plus, even listening to it at super fast speed to finish the prologue. always. But there was so much that happened. So I'm not going to tell you all the things that happened in the end, right? But we're really getting set up for this like big last epic battle. Charlotte did not spoil anything for me, but when I told her that it was my wish that this was going to be a very short battle scene, she goes, good luck with that. And I was like, oh man. But I am really excited to really dive into 14 and be done. Not because I want to be done, but because I want to know what happens, and I want to see who do they kill off. And like, at least in my mind, I guess I would be upset. But when you have this super epic good versus evil, you've got to think some of these main characters are going to die. Maybe they won't. Maybe he's going to be super nice to us. He is not George R.R. Martin level, like kill off any character you like by any means. Yeah. So I have high hopes that not everyone will die. But I don't know. I have no control over that. We'll see. I will be upset. There's a couple that I'd be like really upset about, but like, you know, even Harry Potter, like Fred dying every time makes me cry. Doesn't matter. Every time I read that, it makes me cry. But like, I don't know that he's even going to keep like the 5 main starting characters alive. And I think I'd be okay with, I'm not going to tell you who, 1 or 2 of them dying. I think I could reconcile myself to that. But I would be very upset for a couple of the others. So we'll see. Okay. That's all for book. Okay. So no acquisition this week. Then I think we've covered all of the things that are happening on my needles right now. I will say we are towards the end of October. Like I said, I'd like to clear some needles before I add anything. I'm going to add, it's a boucle knit is what we're planning to cast on together. I am going to also add, one of my Make 12s. That'll be the first thing I cast on in November. And then I would really like to cast on my hand spun sweater, also in November, so I can have it by the end of the year. That's 3 extra things. I have so many things on my needles. But I think I'm going to be okay, like just emotionally okay, with my Traveler and my Birch going into next year. And that takes a little bit of pressure off so I can do some of these things that are going to be fasterness, just like get that fix and get those done early. I don't want to let those linger forever and ever, but I definitely don't feel like I'm going to push myself to get the Birch done in the next 6 weeks or whatever. So there's that for news. I'm going to start setting my 2025 goals very soon. I actually think since it'll be like the first week of November, but it'll be November when we get together for knit weekend. And I think that maybe is one of the things we'll like talk about, or like, what are people's goals? A lot of us set them, like whether or not they're shared publicly. And I will revisit some of my goals that I had set for this year to see if I want to do a modified of that goal, or just like, that's not important to me. I do think like things like I will track the input and output to my yarn library next year, regardless of if I have a goal around it. Though I really don't know if I want to make a goal around it, because I feel like even though, yeah, I added a lot of yarn this year and I am not going to be by any means under that. I do feel like the way I did add yarn for the most part, and like I had some intention behind it. I have projects picked out. I added in places where I thought I wanted more, like more sweater quantities for fingering weight, a little bit less of the heavy yarns, and it all still, like most of it, the things with projects and like not in cakes is fitting in here. You can see my brand new Jewel Dixon is in here. Like there's still room for some of this stuff. I will rearrange my shelves when I do my flat lay in January. But yeah, I think I will, yeah, kind of think a little bit more about that planning, so I can get myself sort of planned out through Q1 if I do a make 9, which is maybe something I'd like to do, because it's not because, I don't know why make 9s started, but really because I have projects picked out with yarn associated to it in my mind that I want to do from here. And I think for me, that keeps me from doing only shiny new object, as in like brand new yarn came in, let me cast that on right away. And I don't want these to linger too long, because then I think you get to the point where you're like, oh, I don't know if I love that anymore, which I don't want to force it either. But like some of these yarns, you know, I really, really want to wear, and I really want to have the object that I had intended when I bought that. So I don't want those to just get pushed too far. I will be excited about them if I cast them on. So that's my thought process right now, is like just kind of getting into 2025 planning, figuring out what I'm going to do, figuring out what I'm going to do for my episodes also, which I will say I will take and ingest, probably also with the help of knit group during knit weekend. We have a lot of agenda items to just like discuss, but we're sitting all there together knitting, getting some more concrete things mapped out for my end of year wrap ups. And I'm going to do that maybe over a series of videos, so that I don't have a 3-hour video to edit. I also do not think I'm going to just do, let me talk about everything I knit. The more I think about it, the less I want to do that, because we have a wrap up here. In every episode, I always talk about all the things I about it, the yarn, the, you know, progress. But I do think there's some things that you don't get to see. How much do they wear it? Do I actually like how it fits when I'm like wearing it several times? Do I like, how did the yarn hold up? Like, you know, some of these other things I think would be kind of nice in a wrap up. Though, to be honest, it's almost like I want to do that wrap up towards the middle of next year, when I have had time to wear all of the things, because some of the things will get finished and then I won't be able to show you because they'll be done in December. But just thinking about some of that, like how do I want to plan some of those things? And some of them might just be shared at the end of episodes, like leading up to December, or like throughout January. Which designers did I knit the most? You know, how much yarn did I use, or like which yarn dyers or you know, mills did I use the most, that kind of thing. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm really excited to kind of reevaluate goals, both what I accomplished this year and also what I really want to track for next year. So that's all I have to share. I want to know what you've been working on. What were you working on while you were listening to me? I will say, if you don't do this now, might be a nice thing to think about for anyone who's a procrastinator on your yarn chores. Like, and I use that to mean if you don't like the thing. So it could be anything: weaving in ends, doing a bind off, not blocking something because you got to be able to sit and watch an episode, right? But like maybe like winding yarn balls or whatever. When I know I said this earlier, but I'm telling you, this is my hot tip for the week. Use your podcast watching time to do a chore. We started sort of like, not everybody, but like a couple of people in knit group started bringing yarn chores to knit night, because when you're among friends and getting to talk and like share your projects and chat about whatever, it is a nice and soothing time to do that thing you don't want to do. And so like Sylvan always brings yarn chores and makes that be the first thing she does before she can get to her project. And that's like a very smart way to do it. But I started doing it during podcast watching too, because I'm like, I'm going to have the best time like just getting in and listening to this thing that someone's talking about, and I can like look up and do whatever and get rid of my yarn chores. So like the other week I was listening to Emily's episode and I woven all of my ends for what was blocked from my Culmination Blanket. So I'm going to do the same thing with my Heirloom quilt cardigan, put on one of the podcasts I love and do that. So that's my hot tip for the week. Actually, somebody also asked me if I could share a tip of the week. This is a really great idea. I would actually really like to know, maybe this is what you can share this week. A, what were you working on? I'd love to know that. Do you know any of your 2025 goals yet? I know it's a little early to start talking about this, but like if you know them, I want to take inspiration from you, but also what tips would you like me to talk about? I will come up with a list of things as well, but if it's like an actual knitting tip, a how do I plan something tip, how do I pick yarn, pick a project, use Ravelry, like what are the things that you're interested in? Maybe because you just don't know it or you've heard me talk about it before and you want a little bit more. I'm not going to make these large segments, but I'd love to do a tip of the week at the end of the episode or maybe at the beginning. Either way. And sometimes it might be like related to something I learned this week during knitting. That happens. I totally have those moments where I was like, oh, I didn't know what that was before. Now I know a thing. But if I would love to like make a little list from you guys. So like I'm actually hitting things you're curious about. It could be anything. Basically, below, ask me a question or give me a subject you'd like to learn more about. And let's see if I can give you some small hot tips for the week. So that was my tip number 1, is use your podcast episodes to do a yarn chore. It will make it more enjoyable and then you will get it done and you will feel awesome. Also, if you never weave in ends, no shame to you. You can do whatever you want. But that is all for this week, everybody. I have such a good time chatting with you all and getting to read comments below and respond to them and keep conversations going in my Discord server. Don't forget, the Discord server exists. I will put in a note, actually probably this weekend, of times for our next call, which will likely be mid-November. So probably sometime, Thanksgiving is the very end of November this year. So like sometime in the 2nd to 3rd weeks-ish. And so look out for those. I will chat with you all soon. Have a good one.